Hey there, I'm Mr. Terry. I'm a high school history teacher. Welcome back to another History Teacher Reacts video. All right, it's been a long time coming, but it's time to come back to our darling favorite, Philomena Cunk. Now, I've covered her before, but I think I found some new content that I had not seen before. And this comes from a series called Moments of Wonder. And it looks like this compilation I'm about to watch is episodes 1 through 8. All right, if you want me to watch the next set of episodes, give this video a thumbs up and sub to the channel. Let's see what we can learn and laugh about. All right, I think the other clips that I had seen were from Cunk on Earth, and those were so hilarious. And I found that it was on Netflix, and I've, on my own time, watched the whole thing, and oh my gosh, it is like classic for me. I think I could go back and watch that a lot, but I've never heard of this series, so new content for me. All right, let's check this out. Let me know about the show. How old is it? I really don't know any details, but let's do this. Moments.
Time is precious, but it's not like other precious things. You can't hold it like a necklace or taste it like money.
Taste it.
Time has existed since before time began, and today
debatable.
It's all around us, on our phones, in the corner of the news. But once upon a time, if you wanted the time, then you had to come here to the headquarters of time, Greenwich Clock Museum.
Yeah. Yeah, the timeline starts right there, Greenwich, England. Time zones kind of break off from there as well. You know, the English, that's how they also get to put themselves in the middle of all the two-dimensional world maps. Basically, all that stuff runs right through Greenwich. Yeah, don't they, like, aren't they like the official timekeepers?
Clocks in the world are set from here, which must take ages. So, what is clocks? Clocks was invented by the ancient Mesopotamians in ancient Mesopotamian times, but they didn't know it were ancient Mesopotamian times
it was just
because
times.
There were no clocks to see what the times was. Because of the shape of clocks, you might think that time goes in a circle, but it actually goes in a line. This is the famous Greenwich Meridian line, named after the band Marillion, who were named after this line. Every day that's ever happened starts exactly here, coming out of that time transmitter and running along this metal line on the ground.
Wait, what is that thing?
That's why this is the only place in the world where I can be in the past and the future.
Oh my God, it's a time machine.
With the present running right up through my middle bits.
By the way, if you haven't watched my channel as much, maybe you've only come from the Philomena, might see me pause quite a bit. I usually my whole thing is I add historical information to videos that talk about history. So I apologize in advance if you were just coming to have somebody to hang out with you to, you know, watch, and I totally get that, but just a little bit of heads up there. So that's cool. I don't know what that thing is, though.
No wonder time
but I know that's
such a mystery. Literally no one can understand it apart from science men.
It's not the international
One science man who knows all about time is this science man. Hello, science man.
I love her interviews.
I'm Dr. Stuart Clark. I'm an astronomy writer and a fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society.
What is time?
We don't actually know. There are a couple of possibilities. Either time could be a physical thing that flows like a river, or it could be more of a psychological thing.
When you say it's like a river, what do you mean?
I mean that time it flows like the water in the river, and that the events in our lives are like things in the river that water encounters.
Like fish and stuff.
Yes.
You know when you store time on a clock, how do you get it back out again? Because when I was winding my watch up, I accidentally put it forward, so I'd got 2 hours more in my clock. But then I put it back, but I thought, is it still in there? Is the time still in the clock?
So your watch doesn't actually measure time?
Well, it does, because it's accurate.
It measures the oscillation of a crystal. And the change
All right,
in the
he's getting too
physical
nerdy with it.
state
All
of
right.
that crystal has to happen in what we call a certain amount of time. So from one moment to another, physical systems everywhere in the universe changes its state. And that change takes place in what we call time.
I got a pause on her face there. That's good. They're both just speaking above and around each other. Well, we know time is relative depending on where you are. It's basically in the universe. We know gravity is time with that. Did you know that, for example, like technically speaking, like the astronauts on the ISS are time processes at a different speed than we do here at Earth. It's crazy. They have to like have a I think they have to, it's like milliseconds for every, I don't know how long, but technically you have to adjust it. So yeah. Remember that movie Interstellar?
We can infer the existence of time.
She's like, shut
but
up.
Actually what time is, we don't know.
Right.
It's another dimension,
So,
right?
even the people who understand time don't understand what time is. It'll always be an unknowable mystery, like why the seasons change or how a telephone works.
Magic.
Next time on Moments of Wonder, I'll be asking,
Magic.
what are these? And why are they everywhere?
Trees or something? In my class, when we're talking about the Industrial Revolution and we talk about invention, we talk about Alexander Graham Bell and the phone, and I love to get in the heads of kids, like, just think how amazing the phone is, right? Somebody invents this way that you can talk into this receiver, it converts it to like electricity, travels at the speed of light, basically, through wires or now through space, through satellites, and then is reassembled to sound just exactly like you are. It's black magic. Somebody sold their soul to the devil for that technology. It was probably Graham Bell.
1 in 20 people has been a victim of crime,
Oh no,
which means that 19 out of 20 people are criminals.
by that map.
No wonder we need police.
You nailed it, Philomena.
In the olden days, if someone did something wrong, there was nothing you could do except form a mob with your neighbours and hunt them down and kill them.
Before
But today, we've got one other option, thanks to Sir Robert Peel, who in 1829 discovered the police, here on a spot marked today by a ceremonial wind
is that
turbine.
right?
Once the police had been invented...
Wait, so did he... Okay, what's a bit of it? So he invented Scotland Yard. Is that what it is? I don't know about him, but...
Victims of crime knew who to ask for help because of their special hats,
More like detectives,
designed
right?
to be visible at a distance by people being murdered in the London fog. Police tried to stop
London fog,
crime,
yeah.
but couldn't exist without it. If there was no crime, what would they do? Except spend all day putting addresses on bikes with a hammer. No one's going to steal those bikes. That's just decorating. Of course, there's no point fighting crime if you don't know what crime is.
True, need
That's
laws.
where rules come in. But
Rules.
what is rules? A rules is basically a collection of laws.
True.
The first example being the Ten Commandments,
No.
which were left on a hill by God. Many of those laws, killing, gravity, and the one about not interfering with oxes, are still used
Scientific
today, even though God's dead.
Mathematical laws there. The oldest written laws come from ancient Babylon, Mesopotamia, by the way, known from the King Hammurabi's code, who had punishments to keep his large empire together and a lot of unity, created from that. So that's where the eye for an eye thing comes from, because that was a common punishment. The idea of justice back then is you do something to somebody, happens back to you. Very interesting to look at, by the way, but so many modern law codes could derive some kind of origin from there.
So, who decides what's right and what's not right?
Juries.
And works out what the punishment
Judges.
should be and then
Voters.
writes it down? Maybe an expert can help us get to the truth.
Weird looking.
Hello, who are you
is that how
and what are you an
courtrooms look there?
expert on?
My name is Chris Williams. I'm a senior lecturer at the Open University, and I'm an expert on the history of crime, policing and justice.
Okay.
If a policeman broke the law, would he be able to arrest himself?
I don't think
Turn
so,
yourself
no.
in.
Under the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, the arresting officer has to sign the prisoner over to the custody officer, and if they were one and the same person, I can't see how that would work. Also, I don't know how the
Maybe it's a
investigator
loophole.
can interview themselves legally under that Act. And if the case ever got to court, which I don't think it would, the defendant would be in a position to cross-examine himself. So I think the judge would stop the trial at that point. No, I think is the answer to your question.
When they do reconstructions, you know, on telly, they're dead convincing, aren't they? Have any of them sort of, like, got a bit out of hand and turned back into an actual crime?
Not to my knowledge, no.
It must have happened. Must have.
Reenacting the
Probably
crime,
not.
you
They're
commit the
pretty
crime.
It probably has happened, though.
We'd probably have heard of that if it had happened.
All right, okay. So, if there wasn't police, we'd be able to do what we liked, which is great. But then the police wouldn't be able to do what they liked, which is be the police.
True.
And that would be against their human rights.
Everyone
Next
has a
time
right
on
to be.
Moments of-
Everyone has a right to be police. That's right. Who polices the police? That's why you have what's called internal affairs agency outside of that investigates the police. You know, do they do their job as well as a lot of people, you know, hope they would? Yeah, I don't know, but
Wonder. I'll be finding out how all these little flaws make it easier to get between the big flaws.
spiral staircases are so cool. So these are like little bits, little like. If you spend what, like 5-10 minutes?
It's almost unbelievable that before Charles Darwin invented evolution in 1859, no one had ever evolved. Without him,
I'm sorry, that wording was just funny. Nothing evolved until him. It's like Isaac Newton. Before Isaac Newton, he invented gravity, you know? Like, there was no gravity before Isaac Newton there.
evolution in 1859, no one had ever evolved. Without him, none of us would be here today, except in the form of fossils or gibbons.
Gibbons, yeah. But yeah,
The story
nothing
goes that
evolved.
here in this garden in Kent, Darwin saw an apple fall from a tree
No.
and wondered if there was a monkey up there. And if so, where that monkey might have come from.
Sing up Newton and Isaac Newton.
Darwin
Darwin.
was one of the most famous men of his age, like Paddy McGuinness is now, except Darwin had a beard, which Paddy McGuinness doesn't, unless they use CGI to paint it out, which they probably
Evolutionary
don't because it's
biology.
expensive. Even though it's obviously just boring today, the origin of species was the biggest sensation of its age, thanks to the twist ending in which Darwin revealed everyone on the planet had been made out of monkey meat all along.
I don't know which chapter that was. I don't think you could have origin of species in that small of a book. But basically, it's the explanation of species. How does species come into play when they're separated from, when species are separated from each other? They live under different conditions, and you have to adapt to those conditions, etc. But yeah, there's a lot of things that people say about Darwin that is not true, or things that he didn't necessarily advocate for. But yeah.
Caused a battle between science and the church.
Perhaps one of the most
that still
influential
rages
people there
today,
is.
although you apparently don't see them fighting like this because it's only a metaphorical battle.
Oh.
Even today, many people still don't believe in evolution, but maybe a science man can put them right. Hello,
right,
science man. Who are you and what are you an expert in or on?
I'm Mark Thomas, and I'm a professor of evolutionary genetics at University College London.
What did people do before evolution?
Well, there weren't any people before evolution. Life started evolving about 4 billion years ago.
If we came from monkeys, why are there still monkeys?
Because some of those monkeys that lived a long time ago
didn't come
turned
from
into
monkeys.
other monkeys that we see today, like chimp monkeys and so on.
All right. So the monkeys that didn't turn into humans, they must be gutted that they didn't turn into humans.
That's not what evolution
Right.
is.
Sometimes when I watch these...
The monkeys and the humans think of them as cousins. They're not a parent child. They have a common ancestor. So, yes.
life hypnosis programs on satellite channels, all the people on those, they're always ladies in waiting or gladiators. They're never monkeys. Why is that?
Probably because they don't actually remember their past lives. It's probably not true.
But I find it easier to believe that I was a lady in waiting than a monkey.
Well, it's maybe easy to believe that your ancestors were ladies in waiting, but
monkeys.
I don't see the problem
It
between
did come from
believing
monkeys
both
related
that
to
your
monkeys.
ancestors were ladies in waiting a few hundred years ago,
And before that
were
monkey
monkeys.
ladies in waiting. Thanks. Because evolution can't be seen, it's hard to believe in, like
that's not true either.
electricity or skeletons. But one day, maybe
There's the things where like evolution happens all the time. You can see that. There's the famous the experiment with the moths, that during like the Industrial Revolution and all the smog and things, that moths that were more likely to be dark ended up populating faster than light ones because of all the soot and all the stuff that would change literally like the environment. So you'd be better adapted to survival because you're darker than if you were lighter. But anyways, you saw that, and they could see that within a short period of time.
we'll evolve eyes that can see
Science
evolution,
lesson, I guess.
and that'll prove it's real. Next week on Moments of Wonder, I'll be finding out where clouds go at night.
All right, I want to see. Is that what the next episode's going to be? Where do clouds go? So this was on the BBC, is that right? What year is this?
Computers are all around us, in offices, computer shops, and computer repair shops. It's hard to think of anything that doesn't have a computer in it, except cows. And they've probably got computers in them now.
Yeah, they do now. Cyborg cows.
Computers have become part of our culture. Scenes like this are commonplace. You have to ask the question, are we looking at the computers, or are the computers looking at us?
That is so true.
Even though the answer to that question is obvious,
Yeah.
it sounds spooky.
I mean, I have a camera right here. It's looking at me. A camera's part of the computer. Yeah.
The computer was invented by Charles Babbage in 1822, but it didn't have a screen, so no one knew what it was
All
doing.
mechanical then.
Konrad Zuse managed to invent a proper one in Germany in 1936, but that one got bombed up by the British. And that meant we could invent it first again, thanks to a man called Alan Turing here at Bletchley Parks in
Turing.
War II.
Heck yeah.
Unlike today's
Are they going to get into him more? He helped crack German codes in World War II that were pivotal in understanding German movements, and got British an advantage that way. Actually, a really important thing. Yeah.
computers, this early computer is made of transistors and pipes. And as you can see, it's absolutely huge. And the mouse has gone missing, but it must have been the size of a
Mouse
car.
wasn't until, what, the 80s?
The invention of the computer was of primary benefit
Mac-
to one
did Mac
particular
invent
group
that?
of people, video game players.
First Mac?
Until
Pac-Man.
computers, they'd had to play the games using a pen and paper or coloured bits of dough. A game of Pac-Man could take 3 days just to set up if the peas kept rolling off the table. The computer changed all that.
Could you think of trying to do a Pac-Man game like on a board like that? Could you make it possible? Would somebody be the ghosts? And I don't know. It just obviously wouldn't be as fun.
There's almost nothing a person can do that a computer can't, except ride a horse.
True.
So lots of jobs have been replaced by computers.
Might be some robot
Perhaps
horse
one
riders.
day we'll have a computer queen, with the real queen just used for the bits that are on a horse. In the future, I'd be able to ask a computer about computers, but for now, I'll have to speak to a human who is an expert in computers.
Hey, you can literally do that now. AI, you can talk to the computer. It's right back there, right? Look at this guy.
So, are you a computer expert?
I'm Dr. Sean Holden, and I'm a senior lecturer in computer science at Cambridge University.
Will there ever come a time where we need 2 mouses to work a computer?
I don't think so. I think it's more likely that there'll be a time when you don't need any mices. Things are moving now
Mices?
towards touchscreens,
Mice?
gesture
Mices?
recognition, brain-computer interfaces.
So what's that?
It's
stuff's
where
scary.
you can sense, to an extent, what someone is thinking.
Like Darren Brown?
Not as well as that.
The author?
Right.
Well, not yet anyway.
Paul McKenna?
You might be able to make the cursor say the mouse pointer go left or right.
Just by
By
thinking,
thinking.
go right.
Yeah, that's about
What do you guys think about that? Because like, starting to what do you call it? Like neurologically connect with technology. Is that something that's just like frightening to you? Are you going to be among the first people that sign up and hopefully don't get brain cancer or something like that? Because isn't that where all that stuff's heading? Just we're going to become just the singularity. Isn't that what they call that? When we just become one with technology, essentially, and everything integrates into one thing. Oh gosh, it's frightening.
Where the technology is.
But how can it do that? How will it know? I don't understand.
It's possible to get some information about what your brain is doing by things like encephalograms done in a hospital.
What?
Encephalograms.
Say it again.
Encephalograms.
Say it again.
Encephalograms.
Right.
So you can get some information about what your thoughts are doing through that kind of interface, which maybe means you're sticking electrodes on your head at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's early days.
That's amazing, isn't it? Would you get one of those?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
He's gonna, yep.
Alan Turing,
Those guys will
the
love
weird
that.
man who discovered computers, is now a national hero, and people queue for ages to touch the Turing shroud. There are even computers made of cloud now. What next?
Made of cloud.
A computer you can eat or fight? Computer music?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who knows? It's enough to make you wonder.
Computer music, man.
Next time on
You seen
Motor
AI
Wonder,
music? It's getting
I'll be asking where your
crazy
lap
good.
goes when you stand up.
All right, what's next?
Money
Computer
is
history,
at the heart of the UK
evolutionary
economy
history.
and many others. People fight for it, die for it, and put it in China pigs. So what is money? Put simply, money is the best way we have of telling how much money you've got.
That is true.
Over the centuries, many things have been
Medium
used
that
as
represents
money,
its value.
including amber,
The
wheat,
purposes of trade.
eggs, travellers' checks, feathers, book vouchers, lobsters, beads, gold, leather, nectar points, rice, peas, mugs,
It's
and
all
money.
currency.
It was only the last of these that caught on.
The rise of actual money comes with trade. So, of course, before money, we had barter system. I have stuff, you have stuff, let's trade that stuff. That stuff is very hard to deal with, though, over long distances. Can't carry a lot of it, so you use money with an inherent value for trade. So that's where it comes from.
Increasingly
It's the ease
these
of trade.
days, money isn't something you can hold in your hand or bite on like a pirate, because
is
it's
conceptual.
stored in the imaginations of computers.
It has no inherent value.
And some of those computers are probably here in the Bank of England.
Money could change too. Look, we got digital money now. I mean, so much money is digital anyways, but you know, back in the day when our money represented an amount of gold that was stored somewhere, and then now we don't use that. But then you got like digital money, you got Bitcoin and things like that, and people to wrap my mind around that, and like Bitcoin mining and all that. That stuff I just don't know, but is it still a scam? That's what I'm still just wondering about with
But that computer
cryptocurrency.
money is in crisis. UK government debt is now £1 trillion, and even Wonga can't help.
Laughs
So who
in
can?
American.
Maybe a money
Tens of
expert can
trillions.
tell us what money is
For
and
us.
what to do. Who are you, and why are you an expert on money?
I'm Will Hutton, I'm an economist and I'm an economic writer.
What's the difference between economics and economics?
Nothing. It's just the way you pronounce the E. I think
British versus
I
American.
prefer economics to economics, but I wonder what you could put the same question to the Chancellor and the Governor of the Bank of England and see whether they like the hardy or the softy.
Hardy or softy?
Economics. Economics.
Okay. This is why intellectuals are not funny. Okay. There's only a handful that are actually funny. And he just swung and missed.
Okay. Money's all stored in computers these days,
Yeah,
isn't it? How
essentially.
does a computer know what money looks like? How does it know?
Well, how does it recognise anything? How does a computer recognise,
So you don't know?
It's a complicated answer.
you know in principle, but you don't know in detail, no.
It is kind of interesting to think about. Like, okay, you have your money stored in a bank, right? And what's to keep your bank somehow from just changing the total, and all of a sudden you have twice as much money, or they have twice as much money. You know, it's not just about, people just think about paper and, you know, like the United States Mint or something, printing out paper currency, which devalues it. But what keeps that is just purely audited for how banks, you know, can actually attest to how much money is stored with them. I actually don't know that exactly. Anyone know?
Do you
Let me know
what
down
I
below.
think's happened? Someone's told a computer what money looks like. They've gone up to a computer and they've said, this is like a £5 note. And then that computer's told the others. When you have a coin, where is the money in that coin? If I were to take a coin and cut it open, could I take the money out of that coin and then it'd be empty?
No, the coin is a token. The whole point
Love
about
her literal
the coins in your pocket
interpretation.
is they're universally accepted as a way of buying things. That's what the money is.
How much does it cost to make a 1p piece?
It's true.
Because if it's less than 1p, then it's a con, isn't it? But if it's
True.
like more than 1p,
But it's inflation.
then do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
She's actually onto a great point. Money is not free to make. So literally by making money, you are going to have to, oops, sorry. Let me get this back. Spend money to make money that way. So it's like you will always basically have inflation of some kind because it's not free to make, you know?
You know in principle, but you don't know in detail, no.
So you don't know?
It's, you know in principle, but you don't know in detail, no.
Do you know what I think's happened? Someone's told a computer what money looks like.
Okay.
They've gone up to a computer and they've said, this is like a £5 note. And then that computer's told the others. When you have
they
a
do
coin,
communicate when you transfer money,
where is
right?
the money in that coin? If I were to take a coin and cut it open, could I take the money out of that coin and then it'd be empty?
No, the coin is a token. The whole point about the coins in your pocket is they're universally accepted as a way of buying things. That's what the money is.
How much does it cost to make a 1p piece? Because if it's less than 1p, then it's a con, isn't it? But if it's like more than 1p, then do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sort of not worth it then.
Yeah. It costs a tiny amount of money to create a 1p piece. And that's
So they're ripping us off.
Well, you got machines, you got employees, you got
It
facilities.
seems no one really knows.
good.
So they're ripping us off.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems no one really knows what money is. It will always be an unsolvable problem, like a crossword or a Rubik's Cube. Next time on Moments of Wonder, I'll be asking why there's more water in a tap than you'd expect.
It just appears out of it.
1940 AD. France has fallen. Hitler has conquered Europe.
Yep.
Britain is on the verge of invasion.
Yep.
In the words of
Okay.
Bonnie Tyler, we're holding out for a hero.
Bonnie
And
Tyler.
unlike that song,
Holding out
originally
for a
recorded for the
hero.
film Footloose starring Kevin Bacon, Britain got its hero.
One of the greatest soundtracks of all
Winston
time.
Churchill. The first question is who or what is Churchill? The answer is who. He was born like most people and went to school. But unlike most people, he was also Prime Minister in black and white times.
A lot of things before that. He was in the Navy before in naval leadership. Had his career completely derailed with being among the people that ordered the invasion of Gallipoli in World War I, which was a disaster for the British, and they got their butts kicked. But he did resurrect his career eventually, being one of the lone voices against appeasement to Adolf Hitler and to Nazi Germany until it was too late. And then the war begins, and old Neville Chamberlain, the previous prime minister, is out. Churchill is in to fight the war. And then once the war is over, they drive him right out again.
Which was not a moment too soon because of a war. The war that would make him famous. War II.
Yep, War II. Second ever war.
Was like War I, but easier to understand because the baddie was better.
Yeah.
Adolf Hitler rather than mud.
Yeah.
Imagine what it was
Bigger
like
characters.
in the war room on May the something, 1940. With Hitler's invasion of France a complete success, the debate was furious. Should Britain make peace or fight on alone? Although in this reconstruction, no one's arguing out loud because we can't afford equity rates. Leading the peacemongers was Lord Halifax. No one knows what he looks like, so we can have anyone play him and spend the money on a half-decent Churchill
Made Churchill
who wanted to keep on fighting.
Bigger looking.
Some
fatter
of Churchill's words are immortal. If the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say this was their finest hour.
We'll say one of my favorite things when I, learn about Churchill is always looking at his quotes. The dude had an incredible wit, and he was kind of a dick, and he would insult people and stuff. And again, if somebody said something to him like that, he would bounce right back with something even wittier and more damaging that nobody's going to recover from. Just look up, Winston Churchill witty remarks, and you'll laugh your butt off.
And never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. If he'd been alive today, just imagine how good his tweets would have been.
Exactly.
I've never met Churchill.
Oh my God, he would be a great tweeter.
So the best way to understand him is to ask someone else who never met him.
Oh gosh.
Hello.
Nerd.
Who are you?
My name is Dr. Peter Catterall. I'm Reader in History at the University of Westminster.
Why do we say Churchill won the war when we know he didn't have a proper go at it himself, did he?
What you mean in terms of fighting?
Yeah. He just sat underground in a hole, didn't he, smoking, telling people what to do,
Kinda.
like a minicab operator.
Well, I suppose in some ways it's quite a good analogy, because unless you've got someone directing the fleet, the soldiers, the tanks, etc., then similarly it's not going to work.
Yeah. Churchill was sort of out of shape, wasn't he? Like he was quite
Drank,
overweight,
smoked,
and he drank
overweight,
and
yep.
smoked a lot. He couldn't even climb a ladder, could he? How good a role model do you think he was, really?
I think he would find it difficult.
I mean, if you don't look at the fact that he won the war.
Outside of his
And
leadership.
indeed, before the war came along, he'd been out of office for 10 years. So politically, he was in the wilderness.
What was he doing in the wilderness?
It's a metaphor. He was not...
See, he wasn't as cool as like a Teddy Roosevelt, all right, who left politics out of in New York. Well, Teddy Roosevelt left because he went also into a deep depression after his mom and wife died on the same day, and went out in the Dakotas for years, and then eventually came back, became president. So maybe there's a similarity there. Big thing with Churchill though was having his career ruined during World War I.
In the government, he was on the Conservative backbenches.
Why did they have the backbenches in the wilderness?
The wilderness is a reference to the fact that he's not in office.
How did
if you're not in politics
Winston Churchill come to
officially.
invent Tipp-Ex?
Well, he didn't.
Wait, what is that?
How did Winston Churchill come to invent Tipp-Ex?
I don't know what that is. What's that?
Well, he didn't.
Tipp-Ex?
It's
I don't know
amazing
what that
to
is.
imagine that
Let me know.
Churchill literally single-handedly stopped Germany from winning War II with his funny voice and his big cigar. And then one day, he just vanished. Nobody knows where he went. Next
You got
week
driven
on
out of
Moments
government
Wonder,
again.
I'll be finding out what's the heaviest month of the year.
This month, one that has the most days. I guess those 31-day months we have, right? But yeah, Churchill, he's interesting. He was like the guy for the war. People wanted him for the war effort, but they did not want him in peacetime. And that's exactly what happened to him. So he'll kind of fade away after that. Amazing how long he lived, though, with that
How have humans
terrible
become the most
lifestyle.
top animals on the planet? It's because we're the only ones who ask questions, apart from owls. But they only ever want to know who's there.
I get it.
For years, we've asked questions like, is there a meaning to life? How did those shoes get in my fridge? And most weird of all, how am I thinking these things?
Yep, those are our three most asked questions.
When you think about it, Thinking about thinking is the hardest sort of thinking there is.
Philosophy.
Which makes you think.
That's what philosophy
Luckily, some people in old faraway times spent their whole lives doing exactly that sort of thinking. People known as philosophers. One of the first philosophers was Pythagoras.
His big idea was that everything in the world could be done with numbers, like in Argos.
I always just think of him as like a mathematician first. I guess his mathematics, you know, Pythagoras is going to be known for, I guess, a type of philosophy. Usually people go to, you know, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle.
Pythagoras is best known these days as the inventor of the triangle.
Yeah, he invented it.
A world without his ideas would be unthinkable, because there'd be no Dairylee and no way of starting snooker.
Another old philosopher was Plato.
Plato invented platonic relationships. Before him, men and women couldn't just be friends. They had to have full sexual intercourse with each other, which is, of course, what people in platonic relationships want to do really anyway, whatever they tell people.
Wait, platonic? Does that actually come from Plato? What's the relation there? I got one of my Plato books somewhere over here. I got the Republic copy of it over here somewhere. I got to dig it up again.
In 1637, French philosopher René Descartes became famous for saying, "I think, therefore I am."
That's not him.
What he was trying
I don't know
to
who that
say
guy was, but that wasn't Descartes.
If everything's in our brains, how do we know we exist? And the answer, of course,
I exist
is
because
footprints.
I know I exist.
To find out more about philosophy, I've got an expert here with me. Or have I? Or am I here? Maybe I'm imagining them, or they're imagining me.
Oh my gosh.
Or am I? Hello, philosophy lady. Am I here?
Yes.
How do you know?
Well, I can see you. I can probably feel you.
And you can get confirmation.
Hear you.
Lovely warm hands.
Elsewhere.
Thank you. It is possible that I'm dreaming.
Yeah. Or I could be dreaming too, couldn't I?
Or you could be dreaming, yes, but you asked me whether you were.
But she still exists, maybe in a different form. If you dreamed her, it still exists in some form, right? It just may not be in the same form.
Yeah.
So I can philosophize.
So
and it's true,
if I was dreaming, that wouldn't have happened. No, if you were dreaming, that wouldn't have happened.
If I were dreaming, then my belief that you are here might be false.
Right.
And unless I can tell that I'm not dreaming, therefore, it's possible that you're not here.
Yeah. But if we both sort of nip ourselves...
Well, the trouble with nipping yourself like that is you might dream that as well. I mean, any test you can do to see whether you're awake, you could do when you're asleep. Any belief that could be false if you were asleep is a belief of whose truth you can't be certain unless you can be certain that you're awake.
Perhaps Descartes was right, and we think because we are.
Favorite philosophers? Write them down below. We got any Diogenes fans? A little bit of a-hole philosophy. That's kind of what he is, right?
Because if you think about it,
cynicism.
We probably are. And if we aren't, then maybe it doesn't matter.
Next time on Moments of Wonder, I'll be asking, who lives in here and what do they want?
There's a guy there. Each one is popular. Okay, stupid thing. When I was a kid, when I was a little kid, I thought that streetlights, like, you know, red, white, green, red, yellow, green, were controlled by like a person, and that like underneath the street light, there was like a little room, like a little office there, and somebody was controlling it. And I don't know, they had like cameras or something. They could see, okay, those cars are stopping. Okay, let's stop it there. And then this was before, I wasn't Mr. Terry then, okay? I was just Terry then. And then just figured out it's on a timer. So it was kind of depressing. I was like, where are those guys that control the lights underneath?
Our planet is changing, and not in a good way, like into a butterfly or a giant magic shoe. And we're all to blame. I'm talking about climate change. 19 centuries ago, there was an industrial revolution which used coals.
The 19th century.
Coal is a fossil fuel, which means setting fire to dinosaurs. It's this dirty dinosaur gas
the biological
which has been blamed
materials
for climate change.
Did start in Britain, okay, Industrial Revolution. One of the bigger reasons for that is she's talking about coal. Coal is basically easier to mine in England than most every place in the world, especially for like Europe. It's a lot closer to the surface, which means it's easy to obtain. So they were set up geographically very well to have that kind of resource, which you're going to need to industrialize.
What's more, so many dinosaurs were burned for steam trains that nowadays there's almost no dinosaurs left.
By the way, steam engines, which they're also going to invent there, has to do with that mining as well. So one of the things that happens with mining is flooding. And machines were built to be able to pump out water out of mines. And you had all of the materials you needed right there. So what you did is you boiled it out. And you could do that because you had coal. So you literally had the coal there. And you create a steam engine. And that engine can then remove the water. Ingenious.
Are a worldwide. There's almost no dinosaurs left. Rising temperatures are a worldwide problem. Experts say they're responsible for making the North Poles melt, meaning too much sea. Not everyone wants to live in the sea. You don't have to be a scientist to know that. You just have to have seen The Little Mermaid. She hated it. The government says we need to cut our greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. But if, like me, you don't have a greenhouse, they say you can reduce your carbon footprint by not flying and walking more. But my feet swell up when I walk, which is why I came here in a car. Storms battering the coast, tornadoes, blizzards, rain, women in bikinis, floods. If we keep discussing climate change at such an alarming rate, scientists predict the world's stock of weather footage will be exhausted by 2050. But not everyone thinks climate change is real. This hot topic has split the science community straight down the middle, 90-10. To hear both sides of this debate,
wait, what'd she say?
Straight down the middle, 90-10. To hear
More
both
separate
sides
than
of
that
this
even.
debate once and for all, I found one climate expert. Good afternoon. What are you?
My name's Andy Watson. I'm a marine, atmospheric and climate scientist.
How does weather actually work? And if you could make it snappy, because it's going to be on iPlayer.
Well, the atmosphere is constantly in motion. This motion means that you get winds if the air is rising.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to be a bit more snappy.
You get rain, you get snow.
Snappy. In one word.
Energy.
Energy, yeah. The world's getting hotter, isn't it? But how can we stop ourselves from turning into steam? What do we do? Should we just start eating more salad and stuff like that?
It's certainly true. We will have to adapt to a warmer climate. And we will probably have to eat different things. Because
ice cream and stuff.
Well, certainly as the world gets warmer, you know...
Probably going to be an ice ban, though, isn't it? So we can't have ice lollies.
I don't think so. It's not
ice
that bad.
Lollies.
How hot is too hot?
I'm going to call it
You know, I mean, will we be like going, ow, all the time?
If global warming happens really slowly, then the world could probably adapt to being quite a lot warmer than it is.
And we'll be long gone by then, so...
Well, that's true, but you've got to think about, you know, our children and our children's children.
I'm not going to have kids, I don't think.
Well, some people
yes, some
want to
people
have
will.
children.
She's like, I don't care, though.
But not until, like, their children's children, so we don't sort of care, do we, about them?
Well...
There's a difference between thinking climate change is man-made and thinking climate change is made up. But I can't remember it because I'm too hot. And that might be a warning to us all. A global warning.
A warning, warming
Next
to us
time
all.
on Moments of Wonder, I'll be finding out, where do fists come from?
All right, so that was, I believe, episodes 1 through 8. If you guys want me to check out the others, make sure you're sharing this video. Obviously, if it's doing well, I'm going to be more motivated to keep going on this, and I'll do it if you guys want to watch it because, again, I think she's funny. So hopefully you're able to laugh, learn a little bit along the way, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.